YouTube, it's Derek. I'm going to try something a little different today. I haven't done it this way before, but I'm going to be making jerky. But I'm going to be using a cut of meat that doesn't always get used. Not for jerky, at least. Found a beef heart at the store the other day. Go to international markets and Asian food markets and that kind of those kind of places, and they have every part of the animal you could ever want and more for sale. But like, I've had beef heart before. I don't think it's too bad, but I had two of these, and the other one I cut up, I forgot how lean they really were. And lean meat is what you really want with jerky, because if you dehydrate fat, it goes rancid and it tastes weird, and nobody really likes it. So I'm going to try to make jerky with this, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so here we go. Got it out of the package, and give it a little bit of a rinse off. There's a little bit of blood and liquid and that kind of stuff on it, so let's clean it up a little bit, make it a little easier to work with. So what you got right here, there's a little bit of fat on the outside of it, and it's pretty hard. It's pretty dense fat, so this should come off pretty easy. And then the kind of nasty looking bit is on the inside. So these are all the valves and the walls on the inside of the heart, and they're pretty tough, they're pretty chewy. So what I'm going to do is, I've got my big meat knife right here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this up into sections, and then from there I'll start trimming off parts that we don't want. So how I normally take these apart, at least initially, is you can see there's a line right here, and it may not be as easy to see on other ones, but on this one it usually is. That's a good spot to kind of separate it at. So you just want to do a little bit of a mark so you know where you're going. And then cut everything through. So yeah, and if you look at this, bring it up a little closer. You see right in there, there's really not that much fat, not really any visible. And yeah, like I said earlier, you kind of want that with jerky, because 9 times out of 10, if you get, say, beef or maybe pork jerky or whatever, the first thing you do with a cut of meat is you trim off as much fat as you can. So if you don't have that much to begin with, you're already ahead of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim this fat cap off. Now on the inside, what you want to do is just kind of cut this out, try to get it as flat as you can. It's not going to lay out perfect flat, just because it's not a muscle that was ever flat. So you can cut and hack and whatever, and you might get it flat, but it probably won't be very useful after that point. So, but okay, so yeah, what I'm going to do with this now is here. That piece will just come off because there's not a whole lot left on it. But yeah, what I'm going to do, this is a knife mark from probably whoever initially processed the steer or bull or whatever. So yeah, you're just going to want to very, very gently take just a little bit off at a time, and just take the absolute bare minimum off of this. And it may take you a couple passes, like it's going to take me, to get it all, and that's fine. Yeah, so there's that. Might trim this piece off, I don't know, or this membrane on the outside. not even sure if it's membrane or just the outside of the muscle. But so yeah, you want to trim all your meat so it's about like that. I'm going to turn the camera off so I can get started on this, so it doesn't, end up with a 20-minute video. And I'll be back. Okay, so here we've got the mostly finished product. I haven't done the silver skin on this side, but I'll do that off camera. But yeah, this is the rest of it. We've got the big piece right here, and you see I've trimmed all that off. That's just a little extra piece right there. But yeah, as you can see, there's really not much in the way of fat. So yeah, now I'm going to cut it into strips. A lot of people go with the grain, which is a little tricky to tell on this. Okay, it's going this way. So a lot of people will go with the grain. I'm going to go against it on this cut, because since the muscle fibers are going this way, if you cut them perpendicular to where the fibers are going, you're going to end up with a lot shorter pieces, like shorter fibers in the meat, and it's going to end up being a little more tender when you finally do get to eat it. The logic, I guess, for the other way is if you cut it this way, they don't fall apart as well or as much, because they're still held together. But I like a more tender piece of jerky. But yeah, I don't know if I can show this on the camera real easy, but you can see the muscle fibers are going that way. So I'm going to be cutting this way. And depending on your preference, if you like thinner jerky, it'll dry out a lot faster. So it'll be a little more tough, but with less water in it, it will store a lot longer, a lot better. I'm gonna we'll go about that thickness, so that's what, 1/4 inch, maybe not. And on bigger pieces of jerky, people will recommend that you put this in the freezer for about half an hour. That's way too thick. I'll fix that later. You put this in the freezer for a little bit to kind of firm it up, and it does make it easier to cut. But with this, I'm not going to. It's pretty firm, so I don't really think it's necessary. So we got that, and if you ever cut a piece too thick, very carefully, you can butterfly it, and that kind of takes care of the problem, because you don't really want real thick pieces, because they won't all dry very uniformly. So yeah, that one's going to be a little bigger than his buddies, but it'll still work. Or, I guess if you really wanted to, you could just hack it and just have 2 more pieces of jerky. So, okay, so I got the meat cut up and put it in the fridge so it can cool off. So now I'm going to be making the marinade. I found this online somewhere. I forget where I found it at, but this isn't one that I came up with on my own. It is really good, and you can kind of tweak the recipe a little bit to make it fit your needs. And this works really well on beef. I haven't tried this particular one on pork yet, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. So what we're going to do is it's going to be equal parts Worcestershire sauce, or Worcestershire sauce, and soy sauce. Get the container open. There we go. Bought a gigantic container of this at one point, and this is all I've got left, so I put it in another container. Okay. And I'm doing this in a different container than the meat because I'm pretty sure I'm going to have more than I need. And if I do, I'll just put it in the fridge in a jar and use it next time I make jerky. Forgot my measuring spoons. Anyway, so there we go. For these three, I've got just regular pepper, I've got red pepper, and I've got garlic. I'm going to do a teaspoon of each. Pretty simple. If you like it spicier, add more pepper and crushed red pepper. You might also throw in a little cayenne if you really want. Okay. And this recipe also calls for a teaspoon of onion powder. I just ran out of onion powder the other day, so I'm not going to add that. I might be doing a video in the near future on how to make your own. And then the only other ingredient is going to be a tablespoon of honey, and that's going to cut through the saltiness that you get from the Worcestershire sauce, and the soy sauce. So you're not going to be adding any salt straight to this. Like, this was just garlic powder. There wasn't any salt in the pepper because I know a few people that do that are weird. But okay. So yeah, we got this, and we're gonna mix it up. We might have just the right amount, but yeah, just stir it until it's incorporated. You don't have to spend the rest of your afternoon or evening or whatever stirring this up. The one thing you gotta kind of want to watch to make sure that it dissolves in is the honey. If you think ahead, and I didn't, just throw it in some hot water for a little bit, because this is honey from my bees, and this is a lot looser than it normally is because it's warmer out. But usually it's all crystallized and it's very, very solid. So. So, got the beef back, or the meat back out, and I'm going to pour this in. That should be more than enough, looks like. And the main reason I use zip top bags, especially for jerky, but I use it with marinades a lot, is you don't have to use as much marinade. So all I'm doing right now is squeezing all the air out of the bag, sliding it shut, and now everything in there is completely surrounded by the marinade. There's no air in there, and it just does a lot better job. Let's see if I can. So I'm going to let this sit overnight, and then I will put it in the dehydrator in the morning. So it's the next day. Got everything done. It's got a nice color to it from the Worcestershire sauce and the soy sauce. This is the remainder. I didn't quite get it all on here. You don't want stuff touching in the dehydrator because it takes it longer to dehydrate than the rest of it, and it just ends up being more hassle than it's worth. So
I just have 2 trays of this since I only did 1 beef heart. So I'm going to add another couple. I know I said earlier that, or last night, that I didn't have any onion powder, so I might just cut up some onions and throw them in the other 2 trays so I can do that. Probably make a video on that. It's pretty easy, but some people it's be easier to show them. So, but yeah, probably going to run this for about 6 hours and check it. It'll probably need longer. I'm thinking probably closer to 8 to 10 hours, just because it's thicker jerky, so it'll need a bit longer than if I were to cut it thinner. So once it's done, we'll be back and I'll show you the final product. So it's about 12 hours later. I ended up falling asleep when I probably should have pulled the jerky, but that's okay. So here's the final product. It's a little dark, but that's because of the soy sauce and the Worcestershire sauce. But yeah, it's a little rigid, but it's not too bad. See that? And I snagged a couple pieces before I started filming, and it doesn't taste too bad. I think I'll change. I think I might add a little bit more honey next time. The honey that I have, it's kind of varies from year to year as far as the flavor. So, but yeah, what I'm gonna do for storage is I'm just gonna throw it in a bowl jar. Just throw a lid on it. I'm probably going to leave this open for a little bit today. That way the jerky can absorb a little bit of the moisture from the air. Not enough to cause like spoilage or anything, but it will soften it up just a little bit. But yeah, so that's really all you gotta do. If you don't have a dehydrator, you can do the exact same thing in an oven. Just put it on pretty low heat, about as low as you could probably get, and you should end up with a very similar product. That's all I've got for this video. Check out some of my other videos. Tell me what you think.